Hey, welcome into the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mack, and today we are talking about players that will get you right for that fantasy championship, that playoff run that is so crucial every single year in fantasy football. Now, the NFL trade deadline just passed, and there wasn't really much that happened. I mean, we heard rumors that Will Fuller might become a Green Bay Packer. That fell through. The Green Bay Packers were offered a second-round pick in exchange for Will Fuller, and they all but laughed at that. They're deciding to roll forward with guys like Alan Lazard coming back from core muscle surgery, as well as MVS and Equinemius St. Brown and a slew of other third, fourth, and fifth-round picks of prior years. So no real news to report for you for the actual NFL, but we can make our fantasy teams better by going after a couple guys who have favorable matchups, who trend towards bigger workloads and bigger opportunities. So I'm here today to give you 3 of my favorite prospects for the remaining weeks. And just a heads up, your trade deadlines most likely are going to be week 10 in your leagues, whether you play on Yahoo, Sleeper. Check your settings. Make sure that you know when your trade deadline is. Most leagues are in week 10. However, some are week 9. So if that's you, make sure that you are making moves this week ASAP. All right, the first guy I'm going to talk to you about today is running back for the Chicago Bears. That is David Montgomery. Now, David Montgomery is on pace for about the same workload that he had last year. He had 242 carries last year. He's on pace right now for 234 carries, so slightly less. However, he's already surpassed his 2019 reception total of 27. He's on pace right now, 24. He's on pace for 54, has 27 receptions through 8 weeks. That is because of the absence of Tariq Cohen. He also has the most broken tackles through 7 weeks. Now, I haven't got the report for this week against the Saints. However, 24 broken tackles through 7 weeks. That is the most in the league. And another thing that's really nice to see in the game against the Saints this week, 84 of his 89 yards came after contact. David Montgomery is running hard. He's hitting holes hard. He's pushing through contact, and the opportunity is all his in the Chicago backfield. If they can continue to win, which they have outperformed expectations so far, I think David Montgomery has a fantastic chance to be a league winner for you for your playoff run. Here's some other things that might make you feel a little bit warm and fuzzy about David Montgomery. Playoff schedule, he has the 3rd easiest schedule, playing Houston, Minnesota, and Jacksonville, 3 very, very poor run defenses. The next 3 games he plays Minnesota, then has a bye, and then Green Bay. That is the 2nd easiest running back schedule, which leads me to say that the rest of the season from here on out will be as calculated as the easiest schedule for fantasy running backs. So David Montgomery showing us a lot, producing quite well, and has a fantastic playoff schedule. I'm trying to get David Montgomery on as many teams as I can. This morning, I actually made a trade for David Montgomery, giving up Clyde Edwards-Helaire for David Montgomery and Deontay Johnson. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I've already made a trade to acquire David Montgomery. And typically, if I'm trying to make acquisitions for players before a playoff run, I'm trying to trade away a player who has a bye week upcoming for a player who's already had their bye. But in this case, I want David Montgomery on my team, so that's what I'm trying to do. Sticking with the running backs, I'm also trying to get myself some Jonathan Taylor. And I know what you're saying, Mac, this is crazy. Jonathan Taylor has an ankle injury. Jonathan Taylor hasn't looked great. Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines have been stealing the show. And to an extent, I agree with you. Look, I understand that the struggles for Jonathan Taylor have been real, and I still believe in him as a talent. Through 8 weeks so far, he is the 38th running back in true yards per attempt. Not great. He is the 25th running back in yards per touch. Not great. I'm 8-miling you right now. I'm giving you the bad stuff. But what has been nice to see, yards per route run, number 3. Catch rate, number 2, and breakaway explosive runs, number 5. Jonathan Taylor has shown that through the passing game, he can be quite good. He's looked fluid in his catches, turning upfield, making football moves. he's been quite solid. He's a powerful back with a lot of speed and good hands. Jonathan Taylor will come to the forefront of this offense. Let's also address that what we thought the Colts' solid offensive line, one of the best in football, has been pretty bad so far. Football Outsiders has adjusted the Colts line through 8 weeks as the 28th worst in adjusted line yards, so what they produce for their running backs, 25th in power success, and 23rd in second level blocking, and that's the key there. So far, they have not set Jonathan Taylor up for success in power run schemes. When he gets to the second level, he is meeting linebackers that are unblocked, and we saw a ton of that last week in Week 8 against the Lions, who posed to be a good matchup. Why am I big on Taylor? Again, I love the talent. I also love the playoff schedule. Now, this week going up against the Baltimore Ravens, that's not good. And with the ankle injury, you're probably not wanting to play Jonathan Taylor anyways. But whoever owns Jonathan Taylor might be down on him. So pair the ankle injury with the bad matchup. Baltimore right now is the third hardest matchup for fantasy running backs. I think this is a good spot to get Jonathan Taylor. Next 3 after this is the easiest schedule: Tennessee, Green Bay, and then Tennessee again. In playoffs, Las Vegas, Houston, and Pittsburgh. That is the 4th easiest on the ground. Rest of season, 2nd easiest schedule. I want Jonathan Taylor. I think he's worth it. And if I'm a Zeke owner, who I am down on right now, I'm trading away Zeke for potentially Jonathan Taylor and a guy who struggled as of late, Terry McLaurin. I would do that package deal all day long. I think JT will be a league winner. It doesn't look like it right now, but I still believe in him, and I'm trying to get him, and I think this is the pinnacle buy low. A wide receiver, and I'll give you a wide receiver that I really like, Robert Woods of the Los Angeles Rams. I think Robert Woods is going to be a smash play. So far, Cooper Kupp has been there, but Cooper Kupp, if you didn't know, he potentially has a scaphoid fracture in his wrist, and he's going to have an MRI coming this week. Cooper Kupp might be out for a couple weeks with this fracture, so that might lead to a boost for Robert Woods. He's currently averaging 6.75, so almost 7 targets per game. He has 4 touchdowns in 8 games. He doesn't have the yardage that we typically see out of Robert Woods. However, he is the second most. He has the second most red zone receptions among wide receivers. Devontae Adams, the only one with more. So Robert Woods used in the high value situations. I think with Cooper Kupp potentially missing time, Robert Woods gets a bump, and Tyler Higbee just has not been the red zone threat that we thought he would be for this team. So Robert Woods might be the guy that steps up and gets that done. Also used on end arounds and in the backfield, so that could happen as well. Playoff schedule, 4th easiest. Goes up against New England, the Jets, and then Seattle. And then he also goes up against, for the next 3, it's the 5th easiest schedule against Seattle again, Tampa Bay, and San Francisco. Rest of season has the 4th easiest. I love Robert Woods. I think Jared Goff hasn't been as sharp as we would have wanted him to be, but the focus for them has been on the ground. But Robert Woods might be the X receiver for the next couple weeks and moving forward should Cooper Kupp miss time. So I'm banking on David Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, and Robert Woods to win me fantasy championships this year, and I think that you should try to acquire them before your trade deadlines. My co-host Landon is going to be coming this week to give you some of his favorite players for making playoff runs. And I know I probably stole the Jonathan Taylor pick from him, but that's what you get when you're first to the draw, my friends. So if you guys liked any of the players that I put here today and you want to figure how you can acquire them in your leagues, hit us up in the comments below or send us a message on social media at snap_fantasy. I also want to thank today's sponsor, Manscaped, for sponsoring the show. If you want to check out some of their products and support us, you can use the promo code SNAP20 at checkout to get 20% off plus free shipping on all of their products. Stay tuned this week. We'll hit you up with more playoff primer stuff, and check out our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you guys get your podcasts. We are there. We're going to be talking playoff primer in depth on our podcast, so check us out. Hopefully you guys have a good week, and we'll see ya.